Welcome back. Millions of people took part in the No Kings rallies across the country this weekend. Demonstrators were protesting the president's policies, while some supporters labeled them hate rallies. President Trump called the premise of the rallies a joke and said the protesters are not representative of the country. Listen.
I'm not a king. I'm not a king. I work my off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
Chuck Rocha and Kevin Sheridan are here. Chuck is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. You see him on the left. And Kevin is a Republican strategist and former RNC spokesperson. Good Monday morning to you both, gentlemen, and welcome. So, Chuck, I'll start with you. These No Kings rallies, they were massive, obviously. You see the footage. They were widespread. They send this clear message of displeasure with the president's policies. But for Democrats who don't have much formal power as far as majorities go, what do they do with this? Where does the party go from here?
It's a great question. The reason that these matter is we're moving into an off-year congressional election in the midterm. And what that means is there's no presidential election to motivate people. Normally, in a presidential election, you'll get 60, 70% of the electorate to actually participate in an election. That drops off significantly in off-year elections where only 50% of folks actually participate because there's no president to vote for, just your local congressman, and maybe you have a senator, and maybe you have a governor. So the midterms are about motivation and whose base is motivated to vote. That's why yesterday mattered. Folks are displeased, not only Democrats, but independent and some Republicans, because motivation really matters when you're trying to get folks out for a midterm election, which is the next election.
Now, Kevin, it seems that Republicans are trying to change the characterization of the rallies. House Speaker Mike Johnson on Friday called them the Hate America rally, and he doubled down on that yesterday. Let's just quickly play a clip.
There were a lot of hateful messages yesterday. I mean, we have video and photos of pretty violent rhetoric, calling out the president, saying fascists must die and all the rest. I mean, I don't think that's loving speech. I don't think that's friendly speech, and I don't think it's pro-American to say those kinds of things.
So what should Republicans make of that? Of course, Donald Trump as a private citizen was one of the most vocal critiques of President Obama, President Biden. I mean, to criticize a sitting president is a very American thing to do. So what's the Republican play here?
Well, the difference is when you call for hateful, actual violence. And Mike Johnson's not wrong there. There was some of that at these rallies. But look, I think Republicans are mostly laughing at this entire move by it looked like a rent-a mob, basically. They bust them all in. We've seen this all before. We've heard all this rhetoric before. I agree with Chuck that they do need to ramp up their turnout effort, obviously. But I don't know that this moves the needle at all. It provided the entire cabinet and the White House to jump on blue sky and troll the Democrats all weekend long. So, look, maybe this allows Chuck Schumer to get beyond this protest and open the government back up, because that's what we need to do.
Right. That is the most urgent order of business for the government right now. I want to jump over to the Ukraine war. We had some new developments there with Ukraine's President Zelensky leaving the White House on Friday without what he wanted, these Tomahawk missiles. Let's just play some sound from the Ukrainian president from yesterday.
Does President Trump need to get tougher with President Putin?
Yes, and even more, because Putin is something similar, but more strong than Hamas. It's more bigger war, and he is the second army in the world, and that's why more pressure.
And Chuck, what do you make of that? And President Trump saying, hey, leave the battle lines where they are and effectively give Russia the Donbas region.
Donald Trump is desperate to get this war over. Heck, most of America would like to see this war over. Those who are actually paying attention, which is not that many people, and this is not a central theme of what I just talked about, which is the midterm election. But what President Trump desperately wants is that to say that he ended this war, just like he could say, and I give him credit for this, for ending what was going on in the Middle East, in Israel. He wants to be able to say, I came here, you elected me, and I ended all of these wars. You already see him doing that, even with small conflicts, because then, during these midterm elections, Republicans can run ads saying that we promised to end these wars and we have, and now he's willing to do it by even giving away pieces of countries that were invaded, which I don't think is right, but that's what he wants.
And Kevin, there's another piece to this because multiple reports suggest that one-on-one meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky actually turned into a shouting match. Why? Help our viewers understand why there's any friction between the U.S. president and Zelensky, whose nation was invaded by Russia.
Well, because we've been funding their defense of their nation, and I think Donald Trump, this is his last unfinished piece of business. He wants to get this thing over. I think he would trade a piece of the Donbass and Crimea for peace. I don't know that Zelensky and the Ukrainian parts of the Ukrainian public are there yet. But this is absolutely what he wants to do. He wants this over. He does not want to be overseeing anything that's funding a war that's still going on under his presidency. He's done it, in 7, 8 other places, and he just wants to get this thing over. Whether or not that's great for Ukraine or not, history will judge. But he wants this thing over.
Yeah, I think all people want to see that conflict come to an end. Chuck Rocha and Kevin Sheridan, great to see you both this Monday. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.